Well, folks, today we're talking about rental homes and the income that you can generate from them from an Islamic perspective. Now, this video is a little bit different from what we usually do. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ali from Shahani Motors, and I'm going to be running you through the returns that you can generate from a rental income from a single family home. We did some numbers here, crunched some numbers. Quite a bit of time went into this video to prep it, so guys, definitely like, subscribe, and let's get right into this one. Alright guys, so basically in this example that we have, we're going to be breaking down the expenses, and I'm going to be giving you my scenarios. And this is a scenario that I found online, but on the right side I have my own scenarios that I wrote up. So getting right into it, so we're going to be talking about and looking at this from an Islamic perspective. So we're not looking at this from getting a loan, because that is not permissible, and me personally and many Muslims who are practicing are not comfortable taking out a loan or using leverage to generate income through rental properties. So we would be buying the properties outright, and that is the way we're going to look at this one. So in this example here, so it says both examples we'll assume that the home is purchased for $165,000. Now this is why I'm going to go through this one, but I'm going to go through my own because I thought that mine were a little bit more realistic in today's market, being as expensive as the market is today. So we'll assume that the house was purchased at $165,000. The annual rental income from that is $22,008, which comes out to about $1,900 per month, after deducting a vacancy factor of 5% and an expense ratio of 40%, which is that's a conservative average. ROI on the rental properties purchased for cash. To determine the dollar amount of operating expenses, the annual rental income is multiplied by the expense ratio of 40%. So we have our $22,800, which is the annual rental, which is $1,900 per month times 12, and we multiply that by 40%, which is our expense ratio. Now that covers tax, insurance, some basic maintenance, and a few other things that may come up, HOA if you're in that type of area. So from that we have a $9,120 annual operating expenses. Then the annual operating expenses are subtracted from the annual income to determine the annual return. So the annual return is $22,800, which is the money that we generate from the rent. The operating expenses, which is 40% of that, is going to be $9,100. So the operating expense and everything equals to $13,680, which would be the net. After that, the ROI is calculated by dividing the annual return by the amount of cash paid for the investment. So since we are buying the property outright, we are not we're not dealing with a loan, we're not dealing with any of that, so we're going to subtract it from the amount that was paid for the house. Now, so the ROI, basically the net that we were going to get per year is at $13,680. The annual return on that, that's the annual return. Now, $165,000 was the initial cost of the investment, which equals, if you divide these two numbers, equals about an 8.3%. That's going to be your annualized return. So based on the scenario, this is all cash scenario on a $165,000 house. Now, on the right side, you'll see I have three scenarios that I've put out here. Now, to me, these are a little bit more of a realistic scenario in today's market that we might see. So the first scenario I have here in the red, purchase price is $250,000. Now the rent I put at a conservative $1,500. Now you may be able to get a little bit more for rent depending on your area, but I think $1,500 is a very conservative amount. So $1,500 by 12 is $18,000 per year. Now tax, insurance, maintenance, so basically the operating expenses, again we talked about, is 40%. So you take the $18,000 times 40%, and you have a net of $10,800 is what you would be getting per year on the property, the ROI on that. So then you take the 10,800 that you would generate from this property per year after expenses. You divide that by your initial investment of $250,000, so you get an annualized return of 4.3%. Now, this is to me a more realistic, scenario, because most houses that you're going to get are not going. It's very difficult in most areas to find a house for $165,000. $250,000 for a decent house that doesn't need much work is more of a realistic expectation that you can have in today's market. So that's the first case scenario. So the following two scenarios that I have, everything is going to be the same. The expense ratio, everything is going to be the same. The only difference is going to be that, let's say that maybe we got a good deal on the house. We got a house for cheap. So on the scenario number 2, we have the purchasing price of $200,000. Same expense ratio. Everything is $10,800 is going to be your net return on the property. You divide that by the $200,000, so you get an annualized return of 5.4%. So you see, it's going up a little bit because our initial investment of $200,000 is less, $50,000 less than the first one example. Scenario 3 is a great example. I mean, if you can get this. So $150,000 is your initial investment. You get $10,800 is going to be what you net from the property per year. You divide that $10,800 by $150,000, you get a annualized return of 7.2%. So as you guys can see, these are 3 examples that you have, and the best of the examples is number 3, which I would say is not impossible, but it's very difficult to find. Now, if you look at it, you get a 7.2% return. Now, you might be thinking, okay, 7.2% return. But then again, is that really all that good? Which, to me, realistically, you might be in scenario number 1 or scenario number 2, which is between a 4.3 and a 5.4% return is what you're going to be getting. And then again, you have to keep in mind all of the liability that goes with owning a property and tenants, and then what if they don't pay? And I have a lot of friends who are real estate guys, and they own a lot of properties, and the nightmares that they tell me, I mean, I don't even know how these guys sleep at night. So for a measly 4.3% return, or a 5.4, or in the best case scenario, a 7.2% return on your cash, I believe personally there is much better vehicles you can put your money into, you can put your investments into to generate the same, if not better, returns. Now, the S&P 500, if we're talking equities and securities, so let's talk about the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 has returned between 7 and 10% per year, and again, that's compounded. So we have a little section down here which talks about 5% increase per year. Good luck with that. That's optimistic to me. Rents are going up, but if we think about it, you could put the same money into the S&P 500. Now, of course, from an Islamic perspective, we don't, me personally and many practicing Muslims are not comfortable putting our money into the S&P 500 because there are many companies that are good in the S&P 500, technology companies, which are permissible to invest in, but at the same time there's a lot of companies that are very questionable, and some are outright impermissible, the things that they sell. For example, adult entertainment, alcohol, and all like traditional finance companies, banks. So all these things would be out of the realm of what a practicing Muslim would be willing to invest in anyway. That being said, there are many securities, many stocks that are perfectly acceptable for Muslims to invest in, and it's up to the Muslim to do each individual person to do their own due diligence. And there's a lot of organizations out there, let's just say that they don't want to do that, and there's a lot of there's Amana Fund, there's SPUS, there's different ETFs and that you can put your money into they track the S&P 500, many of them, but they just take out the companies that are not permissible. The best thing I always say is to, take a little bit of time, learn the stocks, learn about equities, learn about all these things, and to put your money into companies that you believe in, where you can see that they're 5-10 year. You believe in the story, you buy the story, and within the 5, 10, 15 years, the money compounded is going to be, in my opinion, a lot greater than the money that you can generate from the returns, and with a lot less liability that you have. So my opinion is you can generate a lot more money in securities, in stocks, and we're not even talking about Bitcoin and crypto. Crypto, especially the two major ones. I mean, they've destroyed every asset class when it comes to returns on investment over 10 years. So if you want, you can look into these things. If you guys found value in this video, let me know, and I can do a more deeper dive into stocks, and to find out, to help you guys understand how simple it is for the average person, you and I, to purchase stocks and to get invested in this market. Wall Street would like us all to believe that it's impossible, and to leave the investing up to the professionals that are sitting on Wall Street. But as you can find, there's many great resources. You can read Peter Lynch's book, Beat the Street, which he talks about, how the average person, you and I, can simply, very easily invest into markets, and the upside is great. Downside can be as well, but this is why we invest in, good, proven companies that have a track record and a management team that will be successful, and they are going to grow for years to come in the future. So if you guys got value out of this video, please make sure that you guys like, subscribe, drop a comment down below if you guys would like me to do a deeper dive into stocks and to crypto, and I can definitely do that. And make sure you guys like, share, subscribe. Until next time, peace.